Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are continuing on the primate train and adding the proboscis monkey to the Banyan Wilds. This is not a species I use in my zoos very often. They're just not held in North America, which is where most of my zoos are set. Pretty much at all, I don't think. Apparently they're more common in Asian zoos, but not at all in any zoo that I have access to, basically. So, proboscis monkeys are unique in the fact that they like water a lot. They swim a lot. So I wanted to feature that in their habitat. This is going to be a relatively small habitat. Again, still playing with Planet Zoo Plus on. Uh, didn't Still haven't quite realized at this point that I have that on, but it will work out in the end. So, working with water in Planet Zoo is just a pain in the ass. There's no other way to put it. It's ridiculous. You gotta use the glass barriers or terrain or a combination of both to hold in water. Now, there are other water type barriers as well, like the concrete, the wood log for some reason, stuff like that, but in this case we're using a combo of glass and terrain to get the water to the height that we want it. So I wanted to add in a couple viewing decks for the proboscis monkey. I had this idea where I wanted to have them be able, wanted to have glass roofs on the little viewing cabins and have the monkeys be able to climb on top of the cabins. Over the guests, I thought that would be kind of interesting. So we're going to get that in, just getting their little management building in. This is going to be a shared building with Chinese pangolin, which will be the next habitat here. That's where the little 250 circle is. If you guys are wondering what that is a workshop piece. It is called size requirements, I believe. If you search anything like size requirements, habitat size, anything like that on the workshop, it's going to come up. I don't know why it's not the number one item on the workshop of all time, because it's certainly the most important workshop item that I use. It is absolutely fantastic, so go grab it. Endorse, vote the creator, please, because they did a really cool thing. And use it in your zoos. It's definitely worth it. Having an issue here getting the monkeys actually into their habitat because there's a little the second setting tab on the habitat settings has a feature called habitat perimeter, and basically it lets you set part of the habitat barrier to not a habitat perimeter so that the animal can cross it without setting off the escape alarm, basically, or in sandbox with escapes turned off, refusing to cross it at all. It's very useful for doing things like holding in water. Finally got that fixed. It was just a little bit of a pain. So I had to put in the viewing cabins. They're just connected directly to the path. If you want to get the glass perfectly straight in these window pieces, use align to surface. It is your best friend for this. And then instead of remaking the cabin entirely, just duplicated it, rotated it, and set it into place. And the glass, for some reason, I didn't get it in the group, so it ended up being separate. But the habitat is starting to work out. Despite that incredibly sharp join where the water meets the land, they can actually access the water. That's a good thing. It doesn't always happen that way. So I'm pretty pleased with that. These guys require a fair amount of long grass. I don't know why. They're like long grass and rock, apparently. Uh, I hate the long grass texture. It's the worst texture in the game. It's so bright, I think, is what I dislike about it the most. So, adding some concrete floors, adding a plaster roof, just so that way their hard shelter requirements will be met. That way they'll go in their management building to sleep. Not doing interiors on this just because interiors are a pain and I don't feel like doing them. Finally remembered that I was going to do, that I was going to have climbing access to the roofs of these little viewing cabins. Took me a minute to recall that. But once I did, I went ahead and got everything situated on here. It's pretty simple, just to run some climbable logs across to let me contact. As you can see, it worked out quite well. I do have to go in and not only add more climbing, but I need to go in and fix the barriers. And to do that, you just take the null barrier and just run it around the outside of where you want it. It doesn't have to be precise. At that point, they can now access the entire tops of the viewing cabins, the entire roofs of the viewing cabins, which I think will be a neat experience. It would be kind of cool to, be able to go into a zoo and see, the monkeys climbing over the top of you. The mesh barriers. The mesh barriers that I decided to go with and custom build for this turned out to be an incredible pain in the ass. And that's because this habitat isn't remotely square, symmetrical, or even in any way. So it just turned out to be quite a challenge. Still not happy with how the roof turned out. I did do a full roof. Kind of wish I hadn't. I kind of want to just delete it and pretend, hey, this is netted over. But I'm leaving it for now. I do go in and hide as much of the mesh as I can with rocks, but some of it is still going to be visible. Just getting it all to work is just it's a pain. Getting it all to come together just doesn't work out quite as well as I would like it to. Sorry, my phone goes off in every single video. I need to put it on silent, but I end up forgetting each time. So because this is monkey habitat, you want the barriers to be nice and tall, and you want them to be, you want the habitat to be covered over, either with mesh or more mesh panels, something, because monkeys climb. They love to climb, and they're going to climb right out of anything that doesn't have a roof on it. I would not trust the in-game anti-climb pieces in a real-world setting just because, well, monkeys are very smart. They can figure stuff out. They can figure out how to get around those very, very quickly. So, the dang long grass is bothering me a lot. Went ahead and started adding in some faux rocks. Just kind of changed the color a little bit so they're a little bit more gray, kind of tropical feeling, but not as dark as the in-game tropical rocks, the real rocks. And just start spamming rocks everywhere to hide some of the jankiness of the barriers. So where I don't want guests looking is like on this side here. I only want them looking from the front or from the viewing cabins. And some things just need to be hidden. Like this join right here where the mesh meets the glass, it just needs to not exist. So I'm gonna make sure I go in and hide all the little ugliness. I hide where the path meets the barrier, hide where the different types of barriers come together, all of it just to make it look better. You don't have to build things and make them perfect in Planet Zoo, you just have to be good at hiding some of the jank. And I think we did that successfully here. I went ahead and lined the pool with plaster, real world would be concrete, just to simulate it being easier to clean. Went ahead and put in the barrier on the side at an angle, just to facilitate it being a little bit easier to get in and out of for our monkeys. I've also added a staircase going into the pool. This would be for both the keepers and the monkeys to use, so that they can get in and out easily, and there goes one right now using it exactly how I wanted to. That's just one of the big plaster blocks. And then adding a roll, not a roll, a plaster pillar on its side to make that transition between the water and the land a little bit nicer looking. Left it the regular color plaster while coloring the underwater bits green just to make it look a little more real, I think. So, starting on the roof, like I said, I hate the roof of this habitat. It ends up overlapping. I think it looks kind of awful. Yeah, I didn't plan for this really well when I came up with the concept for this habitat. I mean, it works. It just kind of looks not great. It's efficient for what it does. Well, I won't say that it's efficient. It does what it's supposed to. Let's put it that way. So once that's done, from the viewing galleries, it looks pretty decent. And we already have some monkeys using roofs, which is just great. Their temperature requirements are a little off because this is a taiga zoo. They're a tropical animal, so I just hide a heater under the ground. Give them some enrichment, some cardboard, some balls, some bobbins. I'm using free build there to get the enrichment really close to the barriers because that's just how I want it. Free build, if you install any mod at all, it should be free build. It's just a quality of life thing, makes it a lot better. So we've got our enrichment in for the monkeys. Now it's time for some planting. We gotta cover some stuff up and make this look really nice. I always start with the arrowwood bushes. Just because they have to be at the top of the menu as I'm scrolling through, but they're really, really effective ground cover. Adding the bracken in on the tops of these faux rocks. I want everything to look kind of planted, so it's not quite as bare. Just adjusting the barriers to be more even. Again, fixing some stuff by hiding some rocks. Covering stuff with bamboo. Bamboo is your best friend when building zoos. It just makes everything feel very real because bamboo is such a ubiquitous zoo plant. It's just going to be everywhere because it grows everywhere. And you don't have to maintain it. You don't even have to hardly water it. That stuff just grows everywhere. So I'm pretty happy with what we have here. I wanted to get rid of this gap in the path with some rocks. Good old aquatic pack faux rocks are the best. Just hiding any bare dirt. I think that looks really nice. We'll throw some benches in there, see how this works, which actually worked out perfectly. The benches aren't sunk into the rocks at all. So that actually gives you a really nice spot to hang out and watch the proboscis monkeys as they swim around their little habitat. About to go ahead and add a couple of sunshades in there. Those are from the workshop. Very nice pieces. I really like those. I like the little bit that it adds. Welfare is pretty good. We still are having an issue with the long grass. But welfare is all in the greens, looks really high, so I'm happy with that. This is a finishing touch. Gotta spam that buffalo grass everywhere. And that is just about done for the Proboscis monkey. I am very happy with this build. Adding a couple like fake trees, some rocks. Again, another workshop item, these rock groups that you see me using. Very nice. You just spam them around, rotate them so it looks random. And yeah, that is the Proboscis monkey habitat just about done. And next I wanted to add in just a small, simple habitat for the Chinese pangolin in this area. I think they fit very well into the Banyan Wilds. And I wanted to have them on the edge of this Proboscis monkey habitat just to fill this little space here. They don't need a crazy amount of space, which is good. Although, once I uninstall PC Plus, I came to realize that this was actually too small for them, which is kind of incredible, given that they are such a small little animal. We're only going to have two, just a male and a female. And their habitat's going to be really simple. I didn't want to do it as a separate video because it'd only be like maybe 10 minutes long total. We are going to give them a little indoor viewing area because this is a cold weather zoo. We'd want the pangolins to be, kept warm, kept at their appropriate temperature during the winters. I don't believe they are found in snowy areas, so I think it works out quite well in the end. Just trying to get the concrete floor to show up but not be raised up too high. I think that worked out nicely. Yeah, these guys are really cute. I love building for them. They're so small. They do require a 2-meter fence, surprisingly enough, which is kind of interesting. I wanted to have a little bit of glass viewing there for them. Again, using free build to get the water dish into the corner. I don't like building fences, so having workshop pieces like this that I can then modify just a little bit to be suitable for the enclosure I'm working on is really nice. Just adding some mesh overhang to this because they do need anti-climb. Pangolins in game don't climb, but in the wild they absolutely do. So we need just some anti-climb, just lining it in metal there, nice and easy. So the whole thing comes together really quick. And I think this turns out to be a really cute little habitat for them. Again, they don't need a ton of space. They do need a place to get away from the guests because they are quite shy. So that's their indoor habitat there. So we get the glass barrier straightened out just a little bit. And for this, I think it looks quite nice. It's very cute. So we'll cover up their indoor habitat. I played with the idea of putting some bamboo to cover up the joins in the glass barrier, but I decided against it. Give just a little bit of height interest in their terrain. Grab some of those rock groups again and just kind of go nuts, putting in some rocks. Looks good. One of my favorite things to do, we'll get a little rocks to hide the where the path meets the barrier, and then this is one of my favorite techniques to create some visual interest in your barrier is to use these kind of hexagonal like basalt pieces is what they're supposed to be. Like I just use those, turn random rotation on, and just kind of spam a pillar of them, and it ends up looking really interesting. You can change the colors to make it even more visually distinct, uh, and all that. I think it looks quite nice. It just, jazzes up the in-game barriers a little bit and makes them a little more presentable. I don't like the in-game barriers. As you can tell, it's why I use no barriers everywhere. Whenever I can, except for places where I kind of have to, like if we're dealing with water. So, putting in some planting. And remember, this is a North American zoo. We would have North American plants in places, well, throughout the entire zoo, of course. We would have North American plants. Now, my main tree that I'm using is the Douglas fir. I was going to go with ponderosa pines as well, but I haven't used any. And they are so much brighter than the Douglas fir. I think we're just going to stick with the one main pine tree. Reality, this would be a variety of firs in the forest. Douglas fir, red fir, probably some white fir as well. And then other trees like lodgepole pine and things like that. That's what we would expect to have in mixed forests, mixed conifer forests in parts of California, the Pacific Northwest, like what we have. Wanted to add these in-game mural pieces to kind of make a little background for the pangolins, since we do see into their habitat. We don't want to just be staring at a green wall. That would just be really ugly. So then I do the one thing that I absolutely hate, which is lighting. Pain in the butt, but we need some lighting for the indoor pangolins. I just take the standard kind of ceiling light, put it in, turn it to always on, and then that actually isn't bad. Like that worked out pretty well. So pangolins need a little bit for their indoor areas. Again, they are climbers, even though they don't climb in game. Hopefully when Planet Zoo 2 comes out, we get pangolins that can climb. I think that would be adorable. So we're just going to imply that they have climbable habitats or climbable habitat items in here just by placing a couple of the smaller blueprint pieces in here. We're going to throw some bedding around in here. We imagine that the floor would be strewn with straw and with leaves, and then we're going to take these wonderful fall leaf litter pieces, and use both the tropical and the autumn ones, and just cover that over, make it look nice. And I thought it would be cute to build a couple little sleeping boxes for them. I don't think they can actually use these, just because the hit boxes are too big. But I thought it would be cute nonetheless, just to do a couple little quick ones, just with some of the climbing pieces, the climbing logs. So we have two because we have two pangolins, and yeah, it's super cute. I I I love this little build. Sometimes it's the smallest builds that really turn out to be the best. So just throwing their enrichment in there. I need herb scent markers to look up to the glass, a rubbing pad, changing their food setting so that their welfare is nice and high. I did realize they couldn't get to the water bowl, which is never good, so just move that little climbing frame over. And now they are able to reach it. And we get some of our guest barriers in, guest fences around in this area. And it all starts to come together really nice. I love doing these little simple quick habitats. They're very fun to build. Do need to come back through and like fix the barriers where they meet up. but still. Then I had an idea of doing a little bit of a facade on this exterior building. And because Go Away Green at the end of the day is kind of ugly to stare at for a long time if you're looking into an animal's habitat. So I used these unpainted plank pieces from the East Asia theme, to kind of cover up the ugly building. And I just went ahead and covered it all up. I think it's really cute. That way you don't have to look at just painted green plaster anymore. And we'll do the same thing on the front. Just adding in some of the African panels. I toyed with the bark panels a little bit, but it didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. So, yeah. I mean, I thought this was a fun little experiment to see if could fit the pangolins into a nice small little area like that. Once I uninstalled PC Plus and realized that I had it on and got rid of it, I do have to come back in and make their habitat a little bit bigger. We basically give them kind of an off-show area. I believe that'll probably be in the next video. More bamboo, more arrowwood, arrowroot, whatever it is. Looking very nice. Getting the barriers to connect into the proboscis monkey so the area feels cohesive. This little staff gate is lovely. Again, a workshop piece. It came with one of the fence sets that I used. Really nice. Suggesting the barriers to fit around it. And that is the pangolin habitat. Alright guys, if you have enjoyed this video, please subscribe, like if you want to see more, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.